Hi, welcome to another episode of the Luma World podcast. I'm Venkat and this is Sajid. Today is the start of new beginnings. We've launched a new game that talks about sustainable development goals, and we are on this path to help kids and families learn more about their contribution to the environment. So we have someone really special with us today. We have Smita from 5RCycle. Hi, Smita. How are you doing? Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dr. Smita Birkar, and I always add doctor because I have a PhD in plastics because that's something a field that people don't know about. And Coming back to my introduction, I have a academic background in plastics industry for about 8 years, and plus about 4 years of work experience. And After that, I started 5RCycle in 2020 during the COVID times, especially when the whole world was shutting down their businesses and organizations. I think I was the one who opened, and I'll definitely tell how I did that. But that's basic introduction about me.
I love the added line about I mean you're a doctor and you've got a degree in plastics. I myself am a materials engineer, so I know how important materials are to our everyday lives. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and why plastics?
Um, so um, I didn't choose plastics on my own. Um, when I was taking my CT, seat, that's when the last option was left was polymer science and ICT, which formerly known as Udacity, and the second option was mechanical engineering at Guru Gobind Singh Nanded. There's a college there. And my brother was like, "You are not leaving Mumbai. You are going to take something here only." And I happened to choose the seat, and that's when I joined ICT. Till the second round could come, um, I had a good experience about ICT, and I had no clue that there are such diverse fields that actually are there. Like people only know about mechanical or IT or common subjects that common domains that people are aware about, or MBAs as a matter of fact. But something to study in plastics or paints or food, I mean, they have a lot more things to do. So then I was like, okay, I'll stick to it. It's a very good college and it's a good experience. I think I'm going to be into a very different field. But that time I had no idea about plastic. By the time I graduated, that's when I understood that there's a huge industry, there's a huge dependency of mankind on this industry. And I was like, I think there's so much more to learn. And that's why I decided, okay, I think I need to go much more deeper and learn a bit more, and that's how I transitioned into my PhD, which I did in US. And I think from there on, the journey has been quite different because I was able to experience different culture, understanding of this material from now an engineering point of view. Because for every layman who listens to this podcast or to every consumer, there's one plastic. But for me, there are like 10,000 types of plastic now that I'm educated. So I think it just got me, and I feel really fortunate that that degree has somehow helped me today to combat one of the most rising solutions of waste management, or sorry, problems of waste management, and I think that's how I feel lucky that I have studied plastics and I understand so much about it, and I can actually contribute to the society and the environment through my education. So I think that's how plastics it is.
That's a really cool story, Smita. And I just have a question. You know what? When you choose studies, and everyone has this moment where you either love it or you start moving away from it because you're not enjoying it. What was that wow moment where you felt, either in your undergraduation or during your PhD course? What was that moment where, like, oh my God, I need to know more about this, and that's why I'm going to make this my life?
So it was basically the last year of the academics when we started to understand more about it. And my seniors were all going to America and they were studying, and I'm like, what are they doing? What is so much that's booming? Obviously,
Yeah.
when you are an you don't see that much around, especially now. Mine was the only college in Mumbai, so I have no many other colleges where I can see all this. Plus, I had not seen anything from the industry point of view. But I think one of the attractions was obviously to go to US, and because most of my seniors are going for PhD or masters, and doing so many diverse things, and I'm like, I'm sure there's much more to this, and I think that's what carried me to go ahead. And the other part is like love processing. So processing is where you convert something. Like for example, you take the plastic pellets and you make a product. Those machineries and that entire process, I felt so like influenced by that, and I was like, I want to learn. I want to dismantle the entire machine. I want to convert this plastic into some beautiful products and learn the science and technology behind actually this conversion. I think that's why I went specifically into engineering. So there's two fields: you can go into engineering or you can go into science, where you study more on the chemistry part. But I was like, I want to study on the engineering, and that's how I think that was one of the wow moments for me. And in my entire PhD span, etc., you would see me, if you would spot me in the lab, I would be dismantling the machine or taking out mold or cleaning the plastic, and I think that's what I was doing.
I mean, this takes me back to what one of my professors said, that plastics or polymers are a very maligned species, when almost everything that we use has and its application is so wide, right? We might use it in biomedical products. We use it in packaging. We use it in everyday things, ranging from, let's say, even transport to
Correct.
houses, almost everywhere. But a lot of my friends that work with, let's say, polymers, advanced materials, they've gone into, let's say, big corporate jobs or into research facilities, like you mentioned. What made
Yeah.
you think about 5R cycle and your contribution towards the environment? Can you tell us that story?
Sure. So basically, after I finished my PhD, I got a job like every other person does. And when I went from here, from India to US, I had decided that I want to come back. So it was never that I was going to go and decide, but I always had the thought that I have to come back. And after 2 years of work, I thought, okay, now I think it's the right time to come back. Obviously, one always keeps thinking which is the right time to come back from United States. It's a very difficult decision to make once you go there. But I thought, I had to make up my mind. I think this is the right time. When you make up your mind, it's the right time. And then I came back, and I think I was supposed to start something in 2017. But luckily, as soon as I landed here, and within 2 days, I got a call from Reliance, and they were like, come for an interview, and the interview got done, and I got selected. So I was like, okay, let's take a industry ka, little bit of experience in India also, because it's very different here and there. So then that journey started for 2 years, and then I got bored. So I think I was a person who gets bored easily. So sometimes I feel scared that how am I going to continue in such environment where people work for 30 years, 40 years in a company, and I within 2 years I'm like, I want to do something new. I want to do something new. But I think that was because I always was hungry for a purpose. I always wanted to do something that is impactful, and that thing was missing. So I quit my job randomly without any thoughts that what I'm going to do next. And I took a break of 6 to 8 months, pondered over what I want to do, and you won't believe that I wanted to start a restaurant business, because I thought, okay,
Wow.
now you go earn money in this first, and then I'll do something else, etc. And then that entire planning preparation went for a toss when COVID was hit. And then I was like, okay, now what do I do? Now all these things I did, now what do I do next? And I was like, okay, I knew that if when I was planning my restaurant business, I knew how I will make it sustainable. I want to make sure that any plastic I use, I get it back or I recycle. And then I just started about that part of plastics waste management. Let's say, okay, let's start reading about this. And I think it's probably that PhD bug that hits you when you start reading. You go deeper, 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 and that's when I understood the issue of India and why plastics is such a huge problem in India. And then I was like, okay, I think I found my purpose. I think I found what I have to really do next. And it's been 2 years and I'm not bored at all from 5RCycle as established, because every day I come to work, every day I think how many people I can get on board to please segregate your waste, to recycle plastic, and that's how the journey of 5RCycle actually started. And I think that's pretty much an accidental, I probably realization, but I think the true realization that I think this is the way, this is the platform through which I want to practice and feel good and happy about it.
I'm just glad you didn't start a restaurant because I wouldn't want plastic in my food. So
Yeah, that's really cool. Smita, you wanna? So I think we know the 3 R's. How come?
Yeah.
How did you come up? How did you decide the name 5 R's? But before that, you wanna talk about the 3 R's?
Sajid still isn't sure. I'm gonna say
I know the
it's
reduce,
reduce. Oh, okay. So you're going to just say it after me. We're back
reduce,
to second
reuse,
standard.
reduce, reuse, recycle.
Okay.
Is that right, Smita?
Yeah, so absolutely right. You can have as many hours as possible. You guys are doing great. So it's absolutely right. Now the thing is that there are 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours. You can implement as many as you want. But I felt that when I was reading about zero waste, and most of them it's 5 hours. So it's refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and then last thing is recycle. So I thought, why not the organization something different? Let's name it this only, so that at least people understand these hours. if एक तो कुछ तो implement करेंगे, एक हाथ कुछ नहीं तो 4 में 5 में से एक तो कुछ implement कर ही देंगे लोगों पढ़ के. So I was like, okay, let's name this 5RCycle only, and that's how I came up with the name.
That's interesting. Like, do you, whoever is trying to apply for the company, are they like, madam, यहाँ पे 5 घंटा काम करना पड़ेगा, like 5 hour cycle?
No, nothing like that.
I'm sorry for the dad joke, but Smita, I think we're making light of a very serious problem, and since you've seen it firsthand, why don't you tell all of us here how dire do you think our waste problem is?
So, I think I hit on this waste problem myself when I started working at 5R. Because before that, I was an individual like everybody on this planet who would just dump the waste. Okay, I have also shopped. I think I have done my, pap, you can say, of trash contribution, where I have not segregated before, I have not composted, and I have, dumped it in one dustbin. So I have done it all. I wouldn't say I was very this perfect, sustainable person from the beginning. I think I knew the problem, but I just knew like everybody else, and I did not want to act on it. When I started working with 5RCycle, that's when I understood that it's a very real issue, because when I was studying statistics, 6,500 tons of waste a city is generating, Mumbai, every day. I mean, what is that quantum, and where is it going? How much is it getting recycled? No idea. Plus, you don't have to go very far. You can just see in your locality, it will be dumped at your gate, at your dustbins are overflowing, the trucks are overflowing, and then you see all these photographs of the sea throwing the plastic back at you, and the river throwing the plastic back at you. And I was like, uh, this is a really bad thing. Such a good resource, especially all the materials, not only plastic, but plastic, paper, metal, glass. Every resource is wasted because we don't segregate our waste. And then we have this huge landfill जिसमें सब कुछ mix हो रहा है, and it's just sitting there like a mountain. That's it. और उस पे लोग देख रहे हैं, उसको गाली दे रहे हैं और कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं. So I was like, not if this continues, I think कितने landfills हम बनाएंगे मुंबई की सिटी में जहाँ पे रहने को इंसान को जगह नहीं है. वहाँ how many landfills are we going to construct? And the way materials are being extracted from the environment and they are not coming back to recycling, it's sad. It's really sad. And I don't think, I have not visited Devnar, but I don't want to even visit because I've seen pictures, and I think I have seen it myself here only itself. So I have a mini Devnar here only where I do and sit and segregate, because when I started, that's when I realized that so much waste is coming and people are generating it and dumping it. And I think you can go ask anybody कि आप अपने कचरे का क्या करते हैं, and they wouldn't be interested in listening to this also. So a problem that is existing, everybody is suffering, the city is suffering, but किसी को उसके बारे में कुछ बात नहीं करना है, and they just want to blame each other. ये नहीं करता है, वो नहीं करता है, brands नहीं करते, ये नहीं करता है, local municipal corporation नहीं करते, and I'm like, तो फिर कौन करेगा? Who is going to
Yeah.
do this? So I
Yeah.
think that's entirely, I mean, it's a blame game situation, and only the planet is suffering, only the environment is suffering, and more than that, I feel sad for animals and the species. And at the end of the day, everybody should realize that we are not the only human species on this planet. There is a wildlife, there is a marine life who has equal rights to live here, to enjoy their habitat as we are doing. And I think our convenience is making them go away from this planet. So
Yeah.
this is the primary reason why I come to work for 5RCycle every day. That somewhere my contribution is helping some species get back their habitat. So I think that's how I understood that this problem is real and people just don't want to do anything about it and just like keep complaining. And the mountains are rising of landfill, and I think there will be some day where it will hit back at us, like how COVID did. But let's not wait for that day, right? Let's act today.
Agreed. And I think all these points are really valid, and it takes me back to when we, decided that we'll be creating games around SDGs. Help
Yeah,
families learn about this problem. I mean, the first thing and we always were like, okay, what do we actually start with? And that's really when the problem of waste segregation, waste management came up, because
right,
somewhere we just stopped for a minute and we were like, wait, this is possibly the only man-made disaster or global disaster where each and every person on the planet is culpable of, right? We use things every day, we throw things every day. To some degree or the other, we have made a mistake with waste. We've thrown it on the street, we've not segregated it, we've let it lie somewhere, or we have contributed to the waste planet. Everyone is, if we've used any sort of processed or manufactured item, we are guilty of it. And
right,
you can look at almost anything. Let's say we can be like, okay, let's say things like war or pandemics. There's some who are guilty, some who are very careful, some who are completely ignorant of the matter. But
correct,
our waste problem is so huge and it's so local. Like you said, it could just be a set of small species in a pond, in rural parts of the globe or in large urban cities like India. But almost all of them have some problem or the other. And this coming
correct,
from the fact that nature itself is such a great, circular economy by itself. It ends up using and or like reusing almost everything, and we are not learning from that at all. And we are
right,
not even giving it an opportunity to grow. Like, we are affecting wildlife, we are affecting flora and fauna. And that's when we decided, hey, you know what, we need to start doing this. And even if this generation, there are tons of organizations, let's say like y'all, that are working towards it. Who is making sure that 60 years down, the kids that we are going to be politicians and businessmen of tomorrow and entrepreneurs are not going to make the same mistakes, right? And we said, okay, let's do our bit. Let's maybe create a game on waste management. And then we said, okay, why not tackle each of the SDGs that we've got? So I mean, we slowly are beginning to understand that we can't live this way, right? And we need to make changes with our lifestyle. So,
sure. So what I'm saying is, I think I had to make a little correction that there are not tons of organizations who are working on this cause. It's really, you can count on the fingers the number of organizations who are working on this cause, waste
yeah,
management, India.
yeah.
Was there anything that you saw what people were discarding and while segregating, like why is this over here other than dead rats?
Yes. Yes. So we had a lot of sanitary waste that comes in, and I think there are even people who throw medicine vials, and even once it broke, that entire medicine vials broke, and our entire office was stinking, and my staff vomited with that, smell. It was so strong, and obviously the sanitary waste is really disgusting to handle. You don't want to, nobody wants to handle it. And so obviously I don't tell my staff to do all this. Initially when I was working, I would say, you get aside, I will clear it. And I felt disgusted and I felt bad, but then I was like, I think I need to clear this. And I think that was really scary for me to see when I had instructed people that it's dry waste. still send sanitary waste and even diapers that had, like, what diapers has. It's just so bad, like, adult diapers were there, and
Wow.
it was full of the excreta and it was stinking. I think it was something I still fear, that such
Mm.
waste should handle.
And it's also a health hazard, right? You don't want someone who's handling it, trying to do, contribute towards society, being put through, let's say, a health risk, or be exposed to, let's say, some sort of contaminant. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's agree.
And once there was another, some liquid. I have no idea what liquid was that, and it just like burnt the skin. It didn't like do really a bad thing, but it burnt her skin. And these
Yeah.
are all things, take care, right? Because I am getting the waste, I am sensitizing people, and then people drop it anything inside, and it's scary. You're right, it's a health hazard.
Have you seen the impact around that region? Like, have you seen a change in mind shift, or do you collect data around this?
Yes. So you're talking about waste management, like where exactly we are functioning.
Waste management as well as education, like the whole sensitization programs.
So sensitization programs right now, we are working from Daisa to Churchgate. So we've identified the western line only, and we do few in central lines, but not much because my reach is not there. And then I'm doing a rural project which is in Pali. It's
Hmm.
near Khopoli, about 30-40 kilometers. There's a gram panchayat called Siddheshwar where there is no kachra kundi. So now we've made a dry waste collection center over there where there was no kachra kundi. So I did a lot of education over there, and luckily they have collected almost 70 kg plastic from the past 4 months. And
Hmm.
then we do have our sessions at from Daisar to Churchgate. We do the sensitizations, but not everybody participates. So it's all mostly individuals or few small businesses or a few societies. And society में भी सिर्फ 20% लोग ही actually contribute करते हैं, but 20 to 20
Hmm.
it's okay. So that's how we are functioning, like from Daisar to Churchgate and few central parts of Mumbai, and then वो पाली में that we are working.
And what kind of data do you collect? Like, do you have any figures, or how do you track this change? What's the metrics that you would possibly follow?
So basically, we collect everything. Like we have three verticals. We have dry waste, we have thermocol, like that you can see behind me, and we collect used cooking oil. Used cooking oil, basically, even that's a good renewable resource for biodiesel conversion. But that program is really on a slow note. It's taking off. But in dry waste, we have plastic, paper, metal, glass, and then we have electronic waste. Within plastic, we have about 14 grades. Within metal, we have 5, 6 grades. Within paper, we have 5 grades. So we have bifurcated data for every category. So on an overall thing, we've hit our first half century where we've collected 50 metric tons of everything.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, from 2020 to now, Jan 2022, we've collected 50 metric tons, out of which there's 19 tons of paper, 16 tons of plastic, about 7.5 tons of electronic waste,
Hmm.
about 4 tons of, I think, glass, and 1.5 tons of thermocol, and about 1 ton of metal, 2 tons of metal. So I can share the exact figures, but this is the approximate that we've recycled till now. So this is surface category, I'm telling. अब प्लास्टिक के अंदर बहुत और कुछ होता है, हार्ड प्लास्टिक, सॉफ्ट
Yeah.
प्लास्टिक, उसमें भी है. फिर पेपर में देयर इज कार्डबोर्ड, देयर इज रद्दी, एंड देन देयर इज अदर काइंड ऑफ ड्यूप्लेक्स पेपर बोलते हैं उसको, व्हिच इज लैमिनेटेड. फिर मेटल में यू हैव एल्यूमिनियम, टिन, brass, copper, everything. So we have data for every type of category.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
even thermocol is a separate entity altogether. So that's how we maintain. So like we are open to show that data to anybody who would like to understand that how much we are
Hmm.
collecting. But we are actually collecting more paper than plastic. I mean, that's because of COVID, because everything went online and
Sure.
the consumption patterns grew.
Can you enlighten us a bit about, since you spoke about it, like different grades of plastics and
Yeah.
different grades that we encounter, which one we should try to stay away from as much as possible?
So I mean, ideally, there's no as such grade that one can try to stay away from. Obviously, single-use plastic is there. which people should avoid if can. But in single-use plastic, you have different categories of plastic. Like you have polystyrene, you have LDP, you have PP, so and even MLP. All of that comes under that big umbrella. So anything that's reusable, I always suggest that you use for that. But in plastics, there are about 7 grades. So it starts with, first is PET, polyethylene terephthalate, the plastic bottles that you see around. Second is HDP, all your shampoo bottles, your tel ka dabba. I said tela se dabbe. I was talking in Marathi only, but tela se dabbe. And then third is PVC, where you see all the pipes and the water pipes that are mostly used. PVC frames, window frames are all made of PVC. Then LDP. The LDP's biggest example is all your milk packets are all made of pure LDP. Um, then fifth is polypropylene, all your household consumer articles like your buckets, mugs, clips, foams, toys. All of this is PP. And then polystyrene. Polystyrene, actually, there are two major applications. One is thermocol, and the second is all the dahi ka dabba that you see, ice cream ka dabba, are all made of polystyrene only.
Oh.
And the last is MLP. Now, under MLP, obviously, there are much more plastics, but they have put a generic name. But right now, what people understand MLP is all the wrappers, the grocery bags, anything that is aluminium coatings, metallized paper, all of this is MLP. So, and all these 7 categories have a hard part and a soft part. Like you can have a film or a rigid product, and that's how the 14 grades are created.
Oh, got it. And do like any of these, the ones that we use for a food, like since you mentioned ice cream and I eat a lot of it, does any of that somewhere seep inside the food material? Like, are they harmful, or even like if you're having soda or something?
No, they are not harmful. So all of these plastics are food grade. They are tested.
Okay.
So there's nothing
Okay,
going to see your food or something. So it's all safe to
great.
use.
Okay, cool.
I guess the bigger problem is with microplastics when, let's say, these lie around for a really long time or they're shredded and smaller parts of plastic end up into, let's say, the bellies of fishes or poultry, things like that, and or even in the soil, and that comes back to us. So I'm curious about one thing. So you said you've collected about 50 metric tons of these waste, and you guys, I'm guessing you segregate them, put them into order, make sure that everything's in place. What happens
Yeah.
after that? What do you do with everything that you've collected? Does it actually find its way back to people of some way? That is it recycled? Is it, can you reuse? Do you salvage? How do you use the 5 Rs in this process?
So basically what we do is, the first level of segregation is we check the things for reuse. कि जो भी चीजें अच्छी कंडीशन में है एंड उसका कोई वापस यूज कर सकता है, जैसे टॉयज होता है, गेम्स होता है, बच्चों के खिलौने होते हैं, या फिर वी गॉट लाइक लॉट ऑफ स्टेशनरीज एंड एवरीथिंग, वी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड टू अदर एनजीओस और whoever is coming and wants to take anything, we just give it, so that यार आप यूज कर लो उसको करना. Even anything that's any electronic item, though we don't do much of its repair, but अगर हम लोग को कोई बोलता है कि ये अच्छे कंडीशन में है तो हम रिपेयर करवा के फिर दे देते हैं कोई नीडी पर्सन को. आफ्टर दैट द सेकंड थिंग वी चेक इज फॉर अपसाइकलिंग, कि
Yeah.
जैसे वी वर्क few artists or companies who upcycle, so they segregate that type of plastic or whatever they need. We know what they want, so we keep that aside and हम उनको दे देते हैं. The second thing is recycling, where we basically work with the recycling factories who have the capability to handle this waste. Obviously they melt process it, मतलब उसको हीट करके मेल्ट करके वो प्लास्टिक के ग्रैन्यूल्स वगैरह अलग से बनाते हैं. The last thing is to send to fuel conversion. वो अभी हम लोग ने ज्यादा किया नहीं है, because apparently all these fuel converters are based very far off Bombay, and we need
Got
to
it.
send a ट्रकलोड ऑफ स्टफ टू देम. तो अब हमारे पास वो कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है कि हम ट्रक लोड भेजें, क्योंकि मेरा स्टोरेज एरिया बहुत छोटा है. सो वी आर राइट नाउ साइक्लिंग एंड रिसाइक्लिंग. तो हम यही चीज 2-3 चीजें करते हैं, बट वी बिलीव फर्स्ट कि अगर कुछ अच्छा है तो वी गिव इट टू रीयूज, एटलीस्ट उसका एक्सटेंड हो जाएगा लाइफ प्रोडक्ट का.
Really cool. Yeah. So, what are your plans moving forward? Where do you see 5R cycle, growing? What are your next steps? What lies in the future?
So next steps is, I think sometimes I feel like I'm this crazy maniac that I should have the solution for every type of waste. मुझे कोई पूछे इसका क्या करूँ तो मेरे पास जवाब होना चाहिए. ऐसा I really like I feel sad that sometimes I'm not able to help people. So
Yeah.
probably in the next 2 years I would want to make an infrastructure for every type of waste. Right now we are doing, but I want to do organic. I want to do even C&D waste, construction and demolition waste. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just land there. फिर biomedical waste है, मतलब ये सब चीजों के लिए I can at least have an infrastructure, a channel for people to understand कि भाई ये इधर दो, ये उधर दो. So, and then obviously we want to scale this entire thing up. We want to capture more places and have more people enrolled into segregating their waste. And I believe that there should be a 5R cycle across Mumbai first. At least उसके 3-4 सेंटर तो होने चाहिए सेंट्रल लाइन पे, नवी मुंबई पे, कि जिनको भी रिसाइकल करना है, जिनको भी there are issues that they don't understand what to do their waste, we are there to help them. Not only from phone कि calls उठा के बोल रहे वैसा नहीं, but we have the infra to go collect also. कि हम आते हैं, हम
Yeah.
आपका मटेरियल आते हैं और उसको हम properly channelize करेंगे. So अभी के लिए तो this is the future where I want to handle more types of domains of waste, or at least have the solutions for people to channelize it and then grow the current facility and have more of these replicated models over the city.
And I mean, one of the biggest things that we hear, with the waste management problem is that behavioral change is required, right? We all need to start making a huge difference or believing that we can contribute, let's say, starting from our homes. How, I mean, for everyone who's listening and people of Mumbai, since that's your first target audience, what do you think? What is the kind of behavioral change that we should bring about? How do we start?
So I think first everybody should acknowledge and start discussions of waste in their house. Like आप सीरियसली बात करो कि आपके घर में कचरा जनरेट हो रहा है, मतलब दोस्तों से नहीं, आपके घर वालों से. पहले आप खुद वो रियलाइजेशन लाओ अपने में और अपनी फैमिली में कि बिकॉज आई सी देयर आर फीमेल कंप्लेंट, अरे मेरी मदर इन लॉ रखने नहीं देती, मेरा पति रखने नहीं देता, मेरा भाई रखने नहीं देता, बोलता है फेंक दो फेंक दो फेंक दो. So this kind of complaints come from people who are really trying to work hard, and then the first opposition you get is from the family. So that's really sad. और
Yeah.
then perception कि ये कचरा है, ये कचरा है, कचरा है, should go. It should be like ये रिसोर्स है, इससे कुछ और नई चीजें बनेंगी. जो आपके लिए कचरा है वो किसी और के लिए रिसोर्स है, तो आप थोड़ा सा एफर्ट ले लो, उसको रख दो, क्या होता है. Things are lying in our house for ages, we don't understand, but the moment somebody says oh this is kachra, then that's it, uska time tabhi khatam ho jata hai and it has to go out of the house. So this perception and this has to change. We have to be patient, we have to start discussions in our house how you can compose together, आप कैसे कम कर सकते हैं, क्या चीजें आप अपने घर में चेंज कर सकते हैं. एंड देन आफ्टर दैट अगर आपके पास कोई लोकल रिसाइकलर है तो आप उसके साथ प्रैक्टिस करिए वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट. जो भी, अब हम तो सब जगह नहीं है, बट देयर आर मेनी पीपल अराउंड देयर हु आर वर्किंग लाइक अस, तो आप उनके साथ काम कीजिए. बट जो मेरा पहला रिक्वेस्ट है सबको कि आप प्लीज सोचिए, आप अपने डस्टबिन की तरफ रोज देखिए कि उसमें क्या हो रहा है, और ये भी सोचिए कि उससे आगे जाके क्या होता है. सो आपका एक छोटा स्टेप at your end will make a huge difference to the supply chain who's handling the entire waste आगे. So the perception and the mentality has to change towards this. I really feel if that behavioral change comes, it'll be great. And not only at our home, but even when you are traveling, you are going to somebody's party or कुछ भी किधर भी जा रहे हो ना, तो वो सब प्रिंसिपल साथ में ही लेके जाओ. तो वो सिर्फ घर से खत्म नहीं होता है, बाहर भी आप जाते हैं तो वहां पे भी आप अप्लाई करो.
Agree. As I said previously, there's a big psychological shift that we need to bring about in our society, and maybe, I don't know, maybe people might start taking it seriously if some of our big leaders or actors or someone or athletes, they start talking about something like this, where hey, this is important, start doing it right now. फिर हम सोचेंगे नहीं ऐसा कि नहीं ये कचरा है या ये गंदा है और what. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, it's like there's a good term out there at my waste, my responsibility. Like मेरा कचरा मेरी जिम्मेदारी, सब चीज मेरी जिम्मेदारी है, तो ये क्यों नहीं है? So I think that realization has it, and जब आप सब कुछ imitate कर सकते हैं, it's funny. Like I see a lot of reels and everything trending. When you see somebody dancing well, everybody starts dancing. तो जब कोई कचरा लग कर है तो आप भी कर लो उसके जैसा, वही ट्रेंड बना दो उसका, and you start practicing waste management. But I think end of the day, it's my waste, my responsibility. Everybody should just understand this.
Right.
Smita, do you have a role model when it comes to whatever you're doing?
So I think from the time I started college, and I have been a big fan of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Whenever I feel low, I open YouTube and I listen to some of his speeches. I read some of his articles, and that's how I gain some of my confidence back. And I'm like, I think this person talks sense, and he's so inspiring. And I think he is my role model as such in my life when I follow. But personally, in this sector, I'm a real big fan of Dr. Vijay Habbu. He's a scientist from Reliance who's also working on sustainability, and I always listen to his talks and attend all his webinars. And he's been really instrumental in working in this field. So, from the waste management point of view, I really admire him and his work.
Great. Smita, would you mind if you give us a tour of your office or your space right now?
Sure, absolutely, I can.
So we want to say hi to the Maushi who's been working so diligently behind you.
Yeah, so they are segregating all the plastic. Here you can see. So right now they are doing the flexible plastic. So see, this is all the LD. Okay, that's going. This is all PP. Now she's put these straps also.
Yeah.
And that sector over there, I need to walk across. This she's putting all the MLPs. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are those wrappers and stuff?
Yeah, they're wrappers. Yeah, they're wrappers. All like all these, yeah, you can see rain wheeler and this aluminium type. So this is segregation that they've done of the plastic that was already first level segregated, and you can see these guys are baling. So because it's got so much volume, you need to compress it.
I see.
Otherwise, it will be very huge, and so that's how it looks when it's compressed. So this is a bale. That's how they bale pressing it. And these are all the sorted stuff that we have. For example, like now everything is actually packed because we have instructed them to do, but there is cardboard, and then there are other types of, there's foam also here. Everything is there in the outgoing section. So you can see he's making the bale there. He's made 2 of them already.
Got it.
And this is all electronic waste. So you can see a lot of TVs and stuff lying here, and one second. You can see somebody has ditched all the DVDs, CDs. It's a huge, it's almost 70 kilos of just these CDs.
Someone from the 90s.
Yeah. You can see a lot of like some light. There is this, I think it's a monitor. It's broken, and then there's a top lying around. There's this is a huge TV. So everything is in the sack, so you can't really see it.
I'm looking for a MacBook.
You guys get to watch any good movies people throw away?
Yeah, actually, have you found something really interesting which you could put up on eBay and be like, hey?
I have a typewriter.
Oh, sweet. Wow. Okay, that's a really good deal.
And I have saved it, and then I'll go auction it someday.
That is amazing. What about like old phones and stuff?
So we don't get a lot of old phones like those vintage phones. We get more of the वो जो नोकिया वाला होता था.
Yeah.
Actually, I can show you those if I don't know where they. It's sometimes difficult to find. And here you
Yeah.
can see all the metal that has been diligently segregated. This has petal and everything. Actually, I can show where the metal दिला का मावशी? Metal ते can वगैरे कुठे ठेवले? See here are the aerosol containers.
Oh, cool.
They segregate all of this, and this is thermocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Smita,
all of
I may
this.
sound a bit filmy over here, but have you ever found gems or jewels?
Not really. मतलब ओरिजिनल नहीं मिला, आर्टिफिशियल बहुत सारा मिल जाता है.
Okay, hey, in our game you can find jewels.
Good you didn't say you healed, because then Sajid will be like, hey, you know what? I'm starting my
I
own.
quit.
Right. So yeah, so this is how the material comes to us, like in sacks, this big sacks. Then it's segregated, and gets getting segregated more and more, and then we try and pack every material in individual way.
Wow. Hey, we really appreciate you giving us a tour, and I hope even our viewers loved seeing this, and hopefully
And
everyone
I
is a bit
want
more
to show you
educated.
something different. So these are all the things that have come in donation, like the Shivaji
Oh.
Maharaj, this frame,
Ah.
uh, Buddha, and this frame, and like so many. We like you can see it all.
Oh, really
Wow.
cool.
Hey, there's an old pin. Oh no.
Yeah, and
Nice.
so we. This is our used cooking oil, so you can see how people give the oil to dip it
Oh,
in their house.
Got
And
it.
this is a container we have, and basically it has at least it's half full
oh
Wow.
wow.
of the used cooking oil, sir.
Uh,
Nice.
So that was it. So इतना ही छोटा सा जगह में हम we do the recycling magic.
Small place that's making a big difference.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's amazing social service that all of you are doing, to be honest.
yeah. I think it's more than that because you won't believe that people don't want to work in this sector.
Yeah.
It's difficult to find labor. It's difficult to find staff, and it's really difficult because people may sound very excited that I want to work in waste management, but जब real काम करने की बारी आती है, everybody backs off. They don't want to touch all this.
Yeah.
Agree. I was gonna ask, like, if you had to tell our viewers something, be it kids or adults, okay, what small change can they bring about in their life right now at this moment, which will have a larger impact in the longer run? What can people do? What should people do?
At the moment, what everybody can start doing is just segregating their waste and stop blaming everybody and stop littering.
Hmm.
Not only segregation but littering, like यहाँ वहाँ पे जाके कचरा फेंकना. I think that's bad, really bad, because a lot of your resources are gone when they are littered. You can't get them back. So I think that would be one of my very personal request, and something very impactful that somebody can do is stop littering and start segregating your waste and manage your own waste at your own level. And then obviously if you do much more things like tree plantation or reducing your carbon footprint and all that, if you do those are all added bonus. But ye basic cheese to in our control, we can all do it.
Um, all right. So I think we've seen a lot about what you do. We've heard your story. But now let's also ask you some fun questions. So let's put you
Sure.
on the. Okay. So we'll do a quick rapid fire round. You just need to. We'll give you two options, and you'll need to choose one of them. Um,
Okay.
but before that, I have one question. So, what's the one thing at home that you can never throw away?
One thing at home that you can never throw away.
Yeah, what is there at your home that you've struggled so far to, throw away or reuse or give up? You're like, oh, I'm hesitant. I don't want to do
So I have a game
it.
called Catan, and it's been lying in my It's been lying in my house probably I think 8 years, and
Wow.
my mom is like इसको दे दे, and I'm like नहीं कब तो खेलूंगी मैं, नहीं देना है मुझे ये, and वो आज तक दिन आया नहीं, वो ऐसे ही पड़ा हुआ है वो गेम, और वो मुझसे फेंका ही नहीं जा रहा है. आई हैव सम अटैचमेंट टुवर्ड्स इट. आई एम लाइक कोई तो आए तो खेले तो मैं खेलूंगी, बट मेरे को ये डालना नहीं है. एट द मोमेंट आई हैव समथिंग लाइक दैट, आई एम नॉट थ्रोइंग अवे.
I think Smita has misjudged the refused from the beginning. She's now put it somewhere in the end, refused to give it up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I can't throw away is I don't know. It's an old pair of shoes that I have. It's football shoes that I have, which I don't use, but I'm really reluctant to go give away. And I don't know anyone. I mean, my excuse is that I don't know anyone who will be wearing that size or and plays football.
Yeah, I think shoes problem is with most of us. So I don't buy new stuff that often, and I had these old shoes which my mother hates looking at them because they have holes all around them, and I would use them for exercise or for cycling because I'm not running in them, right? But and I'm like, I'll always use them, I'll use them. But now finally the sole is like dead, the shoe sole, my sole, and
You have no
so
soul.
so we she actually finally gave it away.
But it'll be so much cooler if we started to donate a lot of these things, right?
Yeah.
Like even if we are not using it, and even if we don't just throw it away, if we can donate it, give it to people who possibly might use it, might find use for it, it'll be amazing. Yeah. The next thing, okay, now these are a series of questions that I'll ask, and you need to answer them quickly without giving it much thought. Okay. So, would you clean a beach that's full of dry waste, or would you collect food waste for composting? Which would you pick?
I would collect food waste for composting.
Okay. Would you get a bag of 100 used diapers, or would you eat your least favorite food for a month, every single meal?
I would eat the least favorite food for a month.
And what's that? What food is that?
Least favorite food.
Yeah.
Least favorite food is gawarchi bhaji.
Okay. Would you pick a dinner date with your favorite celeb, or get an Instagram shout out about the work that you do from them?
Obviously, an Instagram shout out.
Okay. And finally, would you get to, sorry?
I said it's a big sacrifice I'll make, but it's all good for the planet. So I would
And
just.
who's that celeb? I want to know that. We'll try to tag them.
It's Abhay Deol.
Okay,
Okay.
cool, done.
My wife will probably fight you for that. So she really. Um, what's your pick? Would you get your entire apartment complex or housing colony to start managing their waste better, or would you, or for that matter, donate all their old clothes, or would you get them to donate all their electronics and give you all the e-waste? What would you pick?
I would say about electronic waste right now because that's the next big waste. So I would want them to give that first.
Okay. All right. And do you have any questions? Anything?
No, I think this was pretty cool. Thanks. Do you have any questions for us?
So I want to know, do you guys segregate your waste?
That's a good question. At home, yes. So I live with my parents, and they are in their 80s, and it's so tough explaining to them why we need to do it. I
Right,
mean, we of course segregate like our newspapers and plastics and stuff, and we keep them in a big box, which there's like month on month. There's a guy who comes and collects that. Mom gets some extra cash. Uh, but food waste, wet waste, dry waste, hazardous waste, because they have syringes that they use for their tests and sugar level tests, etc. And I have to explain to them why it's important, because the person who's coming to handle, they may injure themselves also when they're segregating at the end source. It's important that it's better if we do it for them and then they get it. So now
right,
slowly that practice, even like buying soft drinks, right? Why is an aluminum can better than a plastic bottle? stuff like that, and even buying newer stuff. So somewhere I try to live as minimalist as possible, especially with clothing and any kind of equipment that I buy. But then her thing is like, why do you wear clothes with patches on them? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm completely okay with that.
I have a slightly different story, and I mean, as Indians, we disregard our history as such, right? My parents, they were brought up in rural India. Their parents were farmers. They almost have this natural inclination to do the hours by themselves, right, without actually
Yeah,
being forced to do it. For that matter, they donate a lot of their clothes. They completely. I mean, that's something that when I was young, I never thought that this was contributing to the environment also. I just thought it was the right thing to do because they did it. Similarly, when they do puja at home and they've got flowers, they have this thing. They go down, put it under a tree, or they'll kind of put it back into the soil or for plants and things like that. So it's almost like natural fertilizer, or a way, instead of just putting it into a plastic bag and then throwing it away. I think as we grew up more, the segregation aspect came as a mandate. It said that, hey, BMC won't collect your waste. It's sad that we are made to do it in that manner. It's the ultimatum that makes us go like, hey, you should segregate your waste.
right,
It's great if we figured out a way that, hey, you know what, wet waste can be used back for composting. Can you actually grow, let's say, plants with it? Or is
right.
there any other way that we can do that? I think the part towards circular economy, and using and sending it back into where it came from, is something that as Indians we've been doing for a while. It's just that we need to reconnect with that kind of
Exactly.
experience. And I would say in this regard, rural India is way more advanced than urban India when
Agreed.
it comes to this. And it's probably something that we can learn from them about. And maybe that's something that we can think about.
Looking back few years back, right? Like in our homes, milk or would come in a, like the guy would bring a can and he would just pour the milk in a vessel, right? And then somehow plastics became cool and bags became cool, and now milk is delivered in bags to your home.
Right.
Wait, you guys don't have cows?
As simple as that. Yeah, somewhere we like, for either for our comfort or for ease, without thinking much of. I mean, I think even the inventor of the polymers must have thought about it later, like, what did I do with this?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's true. See, everything plastics has been doing is making our life convenient.
Yeah.
And you won't believe that 40% of your car is made of plastic. A lot
Sure.
of
Of
that was
course.
because you want to reduce the weight of the car.
Yeah.
There's so many things it is doing fantastic, but the way we dispose and the lack of understanding and awareness that we have is
Mm.
what is the core problem. For example, you won't see your parents throwing copper and brass and aluminium. They know the value. They know what
Right.
stands for. But when it comes to plastic and you go, ये PVC है, ये polystyrene है, उनको कुछ समझ में नहीं आने वाला है. वो तो एक ही plastic है, बस ये फेंक दो, like that. So they don't
Yeah.
understand the value. I think that's why it's been cursed, and it's a really fantastic material. My professor used to say plastics is fantastic. Like if you go to
Mm.
UMass Lowell where I study, it's the slogan. Plastics is fantastic. अगर मैं यहाँ पे बोल दूँ तो मुझे बोल देंगे तुम जाओ यहाँ से. क्या बोल रही हो? Pollution हो रहा है. तुम कैसे कैसे बोलती हो plastic is fantastic? But but it has made our life convenient. और कोविड से बड़ा एग्जाम्पल नहीं है where plastics was used outright. Like it
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
saved our. But I feel sad that as humans we don't value for this resource, and we just exploit, and then it hits back to us.
True. Great, Smita. Thank you so much for being here and educating us and our viewers on this amazing topic. And hopefully, people learn a lot from this podcast and start segregating
Sure.
at their home. Yeah.
And before you go, maybe you want to tell viewers how they can get in touch with 5RCycle, where they can find you guys.
Yeah.
Put all of this information in the description, or wherever we'll be posting this, but we'd love to hear it from you as well.
Sure. So right now we have one collection center in Kandivali West near Hindustan Naka in Chapop Industrial Estate, which is open every day. 9 to 6 we are open and everybody is welcome to drop off their waste. Obviously we can't reach everyone, so at least there are some people who come and drop off their waste. The other way we offer collection is where we our van runs in a dedicated area, like today it's in Dadar West, Saturday it will be in Dadar East, Lal Bagh and etc. So we every day we have a certain a route lined up. So if you contact us via email or Instagram or via WhatsApp, we can obviously inform you that आज कहाँ पे van आने वाला है, and they can go. We offer a doorstep pickup. So I think that's the best, right? कोई आके आपके घर से वेस्ट लेके जा रहा है, इससे अच्छा क्या हो सकता है? बट वी रिक्वेस्ट पीपल कि आप सफिशिएंट अमाउंट कलेक्ट करो, ताकि हमारा जो कलेक्शन कॉस्ट है प्लस जो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट जाता है वापस से इसको कलेक्ट करने में, वो ऑफसेट हो जाए. um, but people can contact us if they want a collection. If they want to drop off, our collection center is open. So our phone number is 93216 25713, and our email is info@5RCycle.org. If you Google it, you'll find all the information as well.
Great. And hopefully Abhay Deval listens to this and tweets this podcast also.
Maybe you get a dinner date and a shout out. You'll get both.
Oh my god, I'm going to die if that happens.
Which category?